Hey, I'm James from Smoking Dead Barbecue, and today we are taking our taste buds on an adventure down to Argentina, where we are going to try and replicate some Argentinian asado beef ribs. That means we're going to be cooking our 4-bone chuck beef ribs directly over the live fire the entire time. No deflector plates, no slow roller, no double indirect, no water pan, nothing. We're just going to be banking our coals to the back and letting that fat cap that renders out drip down onto those coals and impart some amazing aroma and flavor into our beef ribs. Let me take you back to yesterday when we started to prep today's ribs. So like all of my low and slow cooks, I love to go for the overnight dry brine. So I'm using Diamond Crystal kosher salt. This is the least salty salt. This is a really important step. I've got a couple comments of people using table salt or Maldron's or some other sea salts. I always go for the Diamond Crystal version of salt here, as again, it's less sodium per ounce or per volume than some of the other salts, and so that's why I'm able to get away with a little bit of a liberal sprinkle. So I like to coat my beef ribs evenly on all sides, put that onto a drying rack, and we're going to put that in the refrigerator overnight. And the benefit of doing this is going to give the salt time to penetrate the meat all the way through, and that's going to help retain more moisture. And since we're going to be cooking over live fire the entire time, this is really important. We don't want to, just as those muscle tendons tighten up, squeeze out all that fat, all that juice, and result in a dry beef rib. So this is going to help make sure that after that salt is sucked in, we're going to retain more volume of moisture per pound versus if we didn't do this step. After that, we're just going to make up a dry rub. And since we've already salted our rib, we don't need any salt in our dry rub. And so I'm just going to go for 1 part cumin powder, 1 part oregano, 1 part garlic, and then 2 parts fresh cracked black pepper. So I'm just set my pepper can into a slightly finer mesh pepper so that will incorporate everything really well. And then, like always on a beef rib or a steak, I love using truff hot sauce as my umami binder. So just smear a little bit of that on the day of our cook so we can hit it with the remaining component of our dry rub. Since these have already been salted, I've not added any extra salt than what we've done with the overnight dry brine. Setting up our grill for this style of cook is incredibly easy. So like always, we want to start with an empty, cleaned out charcoal basket. Remove any ash or debris from your leftover cook. And then we're going to bank all of our coals to the back. Whatever coals remain, I'm going to push them to the back, add some pieces of cherry smoking wood for today, and then cover them up with any remaining coal along with some fresh coal. Using my grill blazer or grill gun, I want to start a fire towards the center and the bottom. So that's going to help just make sure as that burns, we almost have an auto feeding supply of charcoal that will continue to fall down onto that fire. It's going to help make sure that we get even heat distribution across our entire beef rib, the entire cook. Even though I have the dome open now as we're nearly approaching the finish line, the dome has been closed for the 6 hours up to this point, and we're just letting the flames fly for this last little bit just to put a little bit more crunch into our outer bark. But let me show you the vent settings that you need for this. So the JoeTisserie allows a little bit more air in and out. So we're going less than 1 finger on the bottom draft door for our cook, and then maybe about a 1/4 inch. And so this is about 30% of the distance between closed and the first line on our control tower top. And that's allowing me to maintain, I was aiming for about 250 to 270 degrees on the meter probe. So we're getting a nice low and slow temperature. And now for this last little portion here where we've got a few remaining pieces of charcoal left, and letting those flames come up and just kiss the bark for a little bit more crunch. That's what we want to do to finish these ribs off. For serving our beef ribs, we're going to stick with the Argentinian theme, and I'm making my favorite Argentinian style chimichurri sauce. So I'll bring you nice and close. So all I'm going to wait to do is just wait till that hits a probe tender feel. We'll pull it off, we'll wrap it up in foil, then I'll wrap that in a towel and put it in the cooler. It's just about 1 o'clock here Sunday afternoon. We don't want this until dinner time. So that's going to give us a nice 4-hour rest. So you can go, I would have no concerns, anything under 4 hours in a small cooler. If you have a really good cooler, you could stretch that to 6 hours. If I was to go beyond a 6-hour rest, I'd maybe think about a hot rest inside of our oven set to 150 degrees. But since we're gonna be about 4 hours out from dinner at this point, and this is maybe 10-15 minutes or so from being done, I'm not concerned with the cooler. So we'll pull that off, let it rest once it's probe tender, and we get to work on making our chimichurri. Let me bring you nice and close to show you how we make that. Okay, we've got everything out that we need to make our Argentinian style chimichurri. I'm going optional gloves here just because we're going to be de-seeding some hot peppers, and I, for whatever reason, like to touch my face or my eyes after doing that, and that really burns. So gloves will help stop that. I'm going to be using the Dalstrong Ulo knife. Dalstrong sent me this when it first launched, and honestly I thought it kind of a bit of a gimmick. I wasn't going to use it, but for prep meals like this is incredibly useful because it does a really nice job being nice and stable. My kids are able to use it, and it's going to help just get a nice coarse chop on everything. So count me as the converted. This has proven more handy than I thought it would be. So what we're going to start with is removing the stems and the seeds from our hot peppers and get a nice sort of coarse chop on those. Then we're going to do the same thing with a head of Italian parsley. We've got some olive oil, some red wine vinegar, some dried oregano. We'll crack some fresh black pepper, and then I've got Malden's coarse smoked sea salt in here that we'll add to taste. So I'll take you fast forward while we start to prep our peppers. And now our parsley. Okay, that's a nice coarse chop on our parsley. You can go finer if you like, but the salt and vinegar will help break this down, and that's a nice authentic size. So we're going to just go ahead and add that in. If we were measuring this out, I'll put the recipe up on screen, but I like to use an entire head of parsley from my local grocery store. So next I'm going to add in the dried oregano, red wine vinegar, our olive oil, looking here for about a teaspoon of salt, and some fresh cracked black pepper. I've got my pepper cannon set to a finer mesh so that we're not getting large granular pieces of pepper. Okay, that looks great. Let's get that in the refrigerator for about the 4 hours now that our beef rib is almost ready to come off and rest. Okay, our rest is complete. So now for the best part of the day, our taste test. Speaking of taste test, when I was testing the chimichurri for salt, I realized I'm missing something, so I forgot the garlic. So I'll put that up on the screen when I did the recipe, but I've since added the garlic. So we are ready to go. Let's come nice and close. We'll glove up, slice these off, and since the game plan for today's dinner is we're doing beef rib tacos, so that we're gonna cube this up, but if you wanted to serve it this way, we could do it right off the bone, put a little chimichurri on it, and serve that on a plate as well. But our meal plan for tonight is tacos, so that's why you'll see the shells when you get nice and close. Let's get them ready. So you can see our chimichurri has gotten a lot more liquid-based looking. That's because the salt has started to pull some of that moisture out of our vegetables, so the parsley, the peppers. So that is now looking like a great consistency. Got our tacos ready and our beef ribs. So depending on how you were serving these, if you wanted to do dino bones, you can come right down the middle here and get some nice looking dino bones. But we're actually going to pull these right off and cube them up. So let's just get these off the bone. They're basically falling off the bone. And then we're just going to cube this up into sort of bite-sized pieces. Maybe do a little sample while we're waiting. Oh my, that's going to be good. All right, that's looking good. So game plan is we'll just get some of this, put it into our tacos here, and then give that a nice healthy dollop of our chimichurri. And if we were serving these sort of family style and other people were going to be diving in here, you could always just go ahead and dress some of these up with a bit of a dollop of chimichurri on top as well, cut that up, make a really nice presentation. But I got my eye on this one. Let's dive in for a taste test. These look and feel incredible. So I'm not going to eat this whole thing right now, but I've got plenty here for our taste test. Let's dive in. Wow. You know what? I take that back. I might eat it all. I'm going for another bite. It's so good. That is a perfect combination. The beef rib has lots of its own flavor. So the fat. So we're getting our dry rub, the smoke from cooking directly over the coals, and then you get that bright, fresh, and a little bit of the spice from our chimichurri, and it's just all coming together. This orchestra of flavor, it's amazing. There's a lot more you could do with this with tacos, but it doesn't need anything else. I think this is perfect. I hope you really enjoyed today's cook. If you did, be sure to let YouTube know by smashing that thumbs up button, and let me know by hitting subscribe to catch future videos. While you're down there, be sure to check out the members section. I go live once a month with members who can answer questions in a bit more of an intimate personal setting rather than these pre-recorded videos. I hope to see you in the next one. That's it for today though. I'm James from Smokin' Dad Barbecue signing off, and remember, don't be afraid to fire it up. Yeah, there's no way this is making it inside. One for the road.